Go. It's saying it's recording.
Brilliant.
Yes.
So we're here to talk to you about your endometriosis story. Do you want to just tell everybody your name, age and where you're from, please?
Yeah, so my name's Amy. I'm 30. 30 last year in lockdown. Great way to celebrate your 30th. And I'm from Hastings, East Sussex.
And how long did it take from the time that you started with your symptoms to get a diagnosis, and how old were you?
So I was 25 when I had my first diagnosis, but I would say my problems started like 4 years prior to that diagnosis. And I only actually got diagnosed because for ages they thought I just had urine infections, and like they kept saying it was a urine infection, on antibiotics all the time. And then I finally got diagnosed with it because they found a cyst, they found a chocolate cyst, but they didn't first of all know it was a chocolate one. They just thought it was like a simple cyst. So they said it should go away, etc. And then my pain got quite bad. Like I got really dull aches in my lower back, and really bad pain with like bowel movements and stuff like that. So I knew there was something, when you know your body, like you can listen to your body. I knew there was something like wrong. I knew it wasn't a urine infection. Like I got in my head, this can't be that. Like it was, I was still going to work and everything, still carrying on as normal, but I could feel that my body was just reacting in a different way, and I was getting really bloated all the time. So the doctor did my scan, and then he found there was a second doctor that came in, and he was like, we need to do your operation now because we think it's going to, what's it called? Like rupture, like when your ovaries, like a twisting effect. They were worried that was going to happen. So I thought it was just a cyst. I thought I just had a cyst there. So they obviously investigated, and then they were like, no, you've got, it was a chocolate cyst, but you've got stage 4 of endometriosis. So I was quite shocked because I didn't know what it was. I just kind of thought it was a cyst that had gone bad, and it was sort of, I suppose, normal to have that. And then I had another operation, which was last year. And again, it was a cyst, and again, there was stage 4 endometriosis there. So it was a bit weird, really, because I thought it was more my bladder, problems with my bladder, or IBS. They said it was IBS, like obviously bad bowels, IBS. So I went for loads of tests with my bowel. So they thought there was something there. And I had tests for like Crohn's disease and all of that sort of stuff. There was nothing coming up. And then in some ways I was quite lucky because the doctor that saw the cyst obviously straight away was like, we need to take her in to operate. So I was quite lucky in the sense that I got probably like a quicker diagnosis. But prior to that, I had probably 3 years where my bladder I thought it was my bladder. I was convinced something was wrong with that. So to find out it wasn't that was quite a shock, really. I didn't expect it.
Yeah, that must have been really confusing, because I think when you've not heard of it ever, then just like, oh well, it must be something that you've heard of, because if you don't know about it, you're never gonna think. So
didn't have a clue. I honestly thought it was just a cyst, which I know is common with women, so I kind of just assumed it was a bad cyst. But when he said obviously the doctor, he was a great doctor. I was very lucky. I have been very lucky with the consultants that I've had. My experience of them have been like really supportive and good, but I know a lot of other people don't potentially have that. But what I would say is prior to that, when you go to the doctors about pain, they obviously think it could be a urine infection. They think it could be IBS, but there's no real investigation. I had this dull ache and I had a pain on my right ovary. So it could have been a mixture of things. And if it had been like, I think probably prior to that, I had it, it's always been there and it just been growing and growing and growing. And then suddenly my body went, I can't do anything, just get me out, sort of thing. And yeah, help me. And I think that's why it happened that time. My body must have just formed something, and then obviously they found it. And that time was, I had a quick recovery. Like it was like a 2 week. I went to America 2 weeks later because I had a holiday booked. I don't even know how I did that now. I must have just been like, I'm going. Yeah. And I don't think I knew about how, I think I didn't know what was wrong with me because they hadn't really told me. It wasn't until like 6 months after that they actually went through with what it is and how it can affect different things, if that makes sense. So I was kind of like, I'm going to go and see what happens.
Enjoy my holiday. But the thing is, like, you know, because obviously when they tell people stage, and if you look at other illnesses, stage 4 of things is always quite a bad situation. So did that scare you, or were you just like, oh, I don't know what it is?
It did scare me because obviously the doctor said it's stage 4, it's bad, and obviously they say to you, you will struggle to have children. So when I was like 25 and I wasn't really thinking at all about any of that, just about me trying to get through my week at work and then celebrate at the weekend. Like I was in such a different mindset. I struggled with that because I hadn't thought about those effects. And they obviously said, yes, when they said that, it did sink in, but it took me a while to realize that I sort of kind of thought once I'd had that operation, it would go, I would never see it again, I would get on, I'd be healthy, I'd be fine. That didn't happen. And actually, I think if that was explained to you in that sort of way, like you will, it does affect different things, it affects your body in a different way. I think that would have helped me process it more than a few years later when it all came back again. And I was like, I struggled then, I think. So yeah, the stage is scary in a sense of it. I also think I remember him saying I had to go on the coil after that operation. And then, before then I had to have Zoladex for, I think I was like 6 months. So when I had that, I again was sort of blindsided. I thought, oh, I'll just have this, yeah, but fine. And had it, and the side effects from those are horrendous, like hideous. I'm sure you're
that. Yeah, worst.
They are horrible.
That was the you've been through treatment wise.
Yeah, so I had that after my first operation, and then I had it last year when I had my second operation. Actually, the second time was worse than the first time, weirdly. I was a little bit worried with the Zoladex because I thought you could only go on once, like have one cycle. So I kind of questioned that a bit. I said, oh, is it okay for the body and stuff? And he said it is for 6 months. But I mean, yeah, again, I'm not sure about that, all of that stuff. But yeah, the side effects are horrendous. Going through the menopause when you're younger, I was I didn't know where my hormones was at all. It was awful. Have you been on to the Zoladex?
Yeah, I've been on Zoladex and I'm on Prostop at the minute, but the Prostop's, I mean, you get night sweats and stuff, but the Zoladex was just, I put on so much weight and
and even if you like this, so I was at it last year. Like my second operation was last January, and I had it, so I sit March, I think, to September, October. And I'm like, I love exercise every single day. And it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. I'm so glad you say that, because I think when you're on it, you think, oh, brilliant, no pain. but the side effects I think are probably worse than actually sometimes the pain that you have with Zodiacs.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with that. What other symptoms did you get with it? Just like, did you get real bad?
I got hot sweats. I could not sleep, really struggled to sleep at night time. Hot sweats, what else did it give me? Obviously mood swings sometimes, like that doesn't really help.
No.
Obviously we're in lockdown, so nobody apart from my partner, bless him, saw those mood swings really, which is better. But yeah, they're just, and they made me feel really, like, I don't know about you, but really bloated. Like it made me feel swollen around my hips and that area, my pelvis. And it was weird because when I had to have it, the next one, the week before I'd have it, I'd feel fine again. I'd feel like normal. And then as soon as they pump it back inside you, it kind of just swelled me up, I found. I don't know if you did.
Yeah, that happens. I had really bad, weird flare-ups. Like,
yeah.
Like you say, this top bit of your ribs area was flared.
Yes.
And I was, because when you get an endo flare, it seems to just be the bottom bit.
Yeah.
But with that, the whole, and you're like, why is my stomach in? Are you looking? You're just like,
and my legs as well. The top of my legs, they were like, just like, I think it's sort of like water retention wise, it was just way worse than it normally is. So yeah, I agree. It wasn't very nice. I know they recommend it because obviously after my operation in January, I obviously needed that because it was a not a very nice one that I had done. So I think that helped maintain the pain. But it was just, the side effects are just grim, aren't they? And pins and needles, actually. I don't know if you had that. I got really bad pins and needles in my legs and my hands. And at night time, it was so bad. I used to have to raise my feet in bed because I got pins and needles. Did you get there? Are they a thing?
I honestly thought that there was something wrong with my nerves or something.
Yes.
But I still get them now. And it was,
I wish I'd known that. I wish I'd known that because I went to the doctors and said that my I keep getting really bad pins and needles in my feet. I ended up buying a foot massager because I thought it was my sort of nerves to get them moving again. And my doctor was worried. Just my normal GP was worried to keep me on them because he was like, it could be a bit to do with your nerves. But then the consultant was like, no, you need to keep having them until you end your treatment. So I kind of was like, right, I'll just stick with these horrible pins and needles. I think that was actually worse than the bloat. I didn't realize they were a thing. So I'm glad I wasn't just the only one that, experienced that.
Yeah, a few have said that about getting weird like sensations and things.
Yeah.
So, and even without them, I've heard people getting weird, like, after. Like weird.
Yeah, it took me, so I stopped them must have been September, October, November, December, January. So it's been 5 months now. Yeah, I was okay after it. I think it's obviously my body went through this cycle of feeling quite bloated after the first few months still. And I was like, come on, like, surely, like, I'm doing everything you've told me to do, and it still looks bloated. And then now it seems to have settled, but I think that's just like your hormones and everything going crazy again. So yeah, I struggled a bit, but felt a lot better. Like, it was nice to know that the pins and needles wouldn't be there and you could actually get to sleep again. And the hot sweats, which is obviously embarrassing, isn't it, when you have to strip off?
Yeah, and you know what? Since the face covering thing, as soon as you have to go anywhere with a face covering and you menopause, it is.
It's just funny because when I was at work, I had to go back to work at the time, and one of my friends, she's going through the menopause, and she was like, one day she's like, I'm really hot, and I was like, yeah, me too. And she's like, Amy, she said, you're not going through the menopause. I was like, actually, I am going through the menopause. And she laughed afterwards because she knew I actually was. Yeah, it's just a bit embarrassing, is that, I suppose, that you're having hot sweats at a younger age than you would do normally.
It's hard to explain to people as well. it's because people don't know that you can be put into a chemical menopause. So when you say I'm in a chemical menopause, they're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, they do. I think a couple of my friends, I have told them, they were just like, so this is the second time you've been through the menopause, and I was like, yeah, second time. But obviously, I know people have Zoladex for such a long period of time, and it must be awful, like, to have that all of the time. Whereas I kind of knew it was a short-term thing for me. So I think it makes you cope better because you're sort of counting the months away. But I know some people have been in it for so much longer. But yeah, it's like, okay, hopefully I'll get to maybe 50 or 55 now and actually properly go through the menopause naturally. At least you know what's coming, I suppose, in your life.
Yeah, you're prepped now.
Yeah.
So what's happened then? What so you said you had another surgery and some more.
Yeah, so it was weird because after my first one, I had the Zoladex. They put got the marina coil put in for 5 years, which actually weirdly they were right there. It got to 4 years, and then stuff started to definitely flare up again. It helped in a sense. It was quite weird because it didn't stop my periods. I still got them, and I kept saying that to them, like it wasn't doing that. But the only thing it was doing was it must have reduced, like, not the pain, but it probably reduced, I would say, maybe how like heavy that they were prior to that. So it definitely did something. But weirdly, the last 2 years, so probably I was 28, I then was starting to get cysts again. So when I was having scans, they were saying, oh, there's a cyst there. It was like only like a 3 centimeter small cyst, but it was weird because the last one I had, it was 3. And then 6 months later, I was getting really bad pain again. Really weird. But the dull ache pain in my back, which is like, for me, that's like a fair signature that something's wrong. So I know loads of girls have probably said this, but I struggled more with feeling that I could empty my bowels properly. So I kind of knew there was something wrong. And for ages, I was having to take, like, the doctors were just prescribing me laxatives, or even, what else did I have to do? I went to see a nutritionist to see if there was dietary requirements that I could do, which actually I believe do help me, like gluten-free and dairy-free. I'm quite strict with that. And if I go off, I know that I'll be in pain. So that's something I've really learned from that area. I would say that's probably helped me more than actually sometimes medical treatments. Diet, it's so important. And if I go off, if I have something, it will affect my belly straight away. So I think that's, I've probably managed much better the last sort of 5 years. But they couldn't understand. They didn't know. They were saying, oh, could you change your diet more to basically get things moving? And I was doing everything. Like, I'm one of these people that if you give me something, I will definitely try it. Trying everything, still not happening. And then I felt really poorly, like mid-January last year, and got really bloated and everything. And went in and they said, it's just IBS. They were like, it's just constipation. And I said, but I have endometriosis, like I have it, I've been diagnosed with it. And the thing is, what happened there, which I think is quite a hard thing, is I'd obviously been under gynae when I had my first treatment. But after like a year, if you don't have like don't need anything else, they say what's it called? They don't, what's that word called? Like, they just not dismiss you, but they take you off.
Or what, like discharge?
Yeah, that's it. So they did that. So obviously I wasn't under anybody again. So when I went back in, I had to go through like standard procedures. So just go to A&E, which they told me to go to, the doctor. So when I went there, I explained it, and they did say, it's just like you've got constipation, you've got IBS. And I think that's hard because you're not it's like you're, I felt like I wasn't being listened to. That's probably the first time I felt like that. And because my other experiences had been quite positive and people had been really lovely, that was quite difficult. So I think that was probably the hardest. And I knew there wasn't something right. So I had a scan and it was another cyst that had appeared. And I thought, okay, maybe it will go, like maybe it will go on its own. They said that they're going to have to monitor it. And because I'd had a first operation, they obviously tell you, don't they, the damage and all of that stuff. So they wanted to sort of monitor it. So I went back home, and then still wasn't right. So I had to go back in. And then at that stage, they did another scan and the cyst had got bigger. So it was growing, it wasn't going away in like 2 days. So they decided to remove the cyst. I think the cyst was like 10 centimeters in the end. So it was quite a big, and it was obviously affecting like your bladder, your bowel, and everything's all like connected, isn't it? So it was really affecting that. So it's like pouring down. It's really, it's really rainy. So luckily I had to wait. I was in hospital for about 4 days until they did the operation, which was long and tiring, and you just want somebody to go, this is what's wrong with you, and kind of send you off your way, don't you, so you can recover. So they did the operation, and he said again it was stage 4. It was back, and what had happened this time is it had like stuck, so it kind of stuck to different areas. My bowel was one of them, so that's why I was having problems for about a year prior, but I didn't know the difference. And I think it's hard because you don't want to push it too much. Like, I'm one of those people that don't want to keep going back and saying this is happening. I always feel guilty like saying that, like just, oh, I'm back again. It's me again. And I know you do have to do that to get results. So when I'd had that and they told me, I thought to myself again, okay, it's not just me, it's actually something there again. But that one took a lot longer to recover from. I don't know if it was a bigger operation. It took me, I was off work for like 5 weeks after. It was so much longer, and the side effects were horrible. Like I had an infection with it. I had to go back in the hospital. So it was just, like just not a very nice couple of months. And then lockdown happened, which was slap bang in the middle. But Lisa had it before that. That's what I have to think. Like Lisa had it and went through that before lockdown. So that was better. But yeah, that was it's a reminder, isn't it, that it's always going to be there, and it will always creep up after a few years. When you think, oh, I've got away with it for a few years, it will come back. And yeah, I suppose I realised again, it's here, Amy, and it's not going anywhere.
It's so frustrating, isn't it? Like that. What it's so annoying that the sort of similar thing happened to me where you went to hospital and they went, you've got IBS, and they sent me to an IBS clinic and everything, and I was like, I'm telling you that it's my endometriosis. I know it. And they just kept for like, no, it's not. You've just had surgery, but this was under a general gynae, and I was like, well, maybe if you send me to an endo centre. And when I got to the end, it's like, it's like in your Patrick Douglas. It's in the behind.
I didn't even know what that was. I had to Google it.
Like, who's Douglas?
Who's Douglas, and why is he in my stomach? I'm the same. Like, they say all these sort of words to you, medical terms, and you just sort of sit there and you're sort of recovering yourself, so it kind of goes in one ear and comes out the other. That's hard. I find that bit quite hard, because then you sort of Google it and then you realize what's actually wrong with you, I think, sometimes, unless you can find a really good doctor, which we'll talk. I've now got somebody who's brilliant, but before that it was a bit crazy.
It's insane. They always say it's IBS and you're like, I've got endometriosis. So it's like, they do that to so many people.
I think, obviously, I try and think like how it connects and how it it
Yeah.
affects different areas of your body. But yeah, the last one was definitely worse than the first one. Like even after I'd had the surgery, I don't know about you, but like the bruising of it took so much longer to repair, and they'd offered me physio because it was just a longer procedure that they had to do. And I tried to do like exercise and stuff, but I found that even my pelvis, like I was having to really sort of train my body again after the last one.
How long was surgery for?
It was well, it was about four. I think he said about 3.5, 4 hours. I don't know if that's a long
Yeah,
procedure.
that's about a long time.
I kind of thought it was, you know, when it's a cyst, you can kind of, you think they're going to be in and out. But I think he thought he went opened in, you know, going into the surgery and thought it's going to be quite a quick sort of cyst removal. I was quite lucky the fact that the doctor that had done my first surgery, he works still there. So he was able to say to the doctor, this is Amy's got, you know, you will see endometriosis, you will see that stage there. So in some reflect that I was lucky that I had that, because he obviously has done my first operation, so he could have told him about it. So I've been a bit more luckier there, which I know some other girls have obviously loads of different people and they don't communicate,
Yeah.
they don't know each other. So I was quite lucky in that sense, possibly.
Yeah, it's not easy though at all. I think when you've got organs like your bowel and other areas sticking to
Yes.
it's just like, it's crazy how you get through day to day, like work and stuff. Like how were you managing to like get through your days at work and stuff? Because you must have been in a lot of pain.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it wasn't. It's quite funny, really, looking back now, which how your body just goes, come on, you need to go to work and you need to do this. So I'm a dance teacher, so I'm really, really active all day.
Mhm.
And luckily, the one of my places I work at, she is my boss is brilliant. Like she's really understanding, and I came into work. I think it was 2 days before I went into hospital, and I had like hot water bottle like on my tummy, and she was like, "Why are you even here? Like you shouldn't be here. You need to go home." And so I always feel so guilty though, because I think when you can't go to work, it's aggro for other people if you're not there. So I try my best, but that time I knew I was in a lot of pain. And after that, I had about 4 weeks they signed me off for. And then when I went back in, I think for like 3 weeks, and it was lockdown. Since lockdown, it's obviously been working from home a lot more. So it's probably made my body slow down more, which, as we know, helps things in your body. So yeah, it's definitely a struggle, and I think last year I went to a 4-day week. So prior to that, I'd been 5 days, but now I'm 4 days. And making that decision was helpful because it gives me one day to like,
Yeah.
my body to like recover almost to go again the next week. So I have had to listen to people to tell me to do that, because otherwise I'll just keep,
Yeah.
I'm the worst enemy really. I'll just keep going. Yeah, that's been helpful.
I think, and a lot of people that I know that have got endo that work, so like we're all very much the same, and like we're like, oh, like we're going, like
Even if you're lying, like I've had a lesson once where I've had taught and then I've like gone back and be like, just gonna lay down for 5 minutes and then go again. Like you know, a hot water bottle sitting there, like I'm sure the students have definitely picked up on it, but yeah, I think you just keep going, don't you, until you're in hospital. Really, you just keep
yeah.
going. Oh, that sounds awful, but you do, because also you don't want. I also I think it's it's frustrating when you have to give things up. Like that's what I get frustrated about. So if I haven't been able to go to a friend's birthday, or I don't know, something that's happened and I haven't been able to go because I've been recovering,
Yeah.
I find that really, really difficult. Or if I haven't been able to go to work, or I was thinking last year when I'd had the operation, I was like doing a weekly plan, like, oh, I've done this many steps today, I've walked around the block or something like that. So it's, I'm always wanting to get better, but I know it takes a long time and I get frustrated about that a lot, which I'm sure other girls probably do as well.
It's really, yeah, I think it's that whole, you just, because you've got to live with it, like there's no cure for it, then you just want to try and do as much as you can, don't you, I suppose? And when it
Yeah.
stops you, like, so annoying.
Yeah,
So
it's really frustrating because your body, like our bodies are, even though I know sometimes they're not amazing here, but they are amazing with what they can do. So you kind of want it to do as much as it possibly can. And when you're tired or you can't, you know, you've, like you said earlier, there you have a flare up and it's like it feels to me like it's 10 steps back again. I have to think, oh, I need to rest or look after my body. And then you want to do as many things as possible. So I think that's the hardest. For me, that's probably the hardest out of everything, really.
yeah, it's difficult having to give those things up.
Yeah.
Since your surgery, what's how you felt? Or
So I went, obviously I had to go back on the Zoladex, which wasn't very nice this time. And like you said, the weight gain, I think, for the second time was worse.
Mhm.
I mean, people will say, but you know your body, you know how you feel, and I think that's the hardest thing. Um, I felt better, I would say. It's weird. Some weeks are better than others. So some weeks I feel fine, and then other weeks I think it might be my bladder again, or something would trigger or off, or I haven't had, like I was saying about diet. I think food and um all of that I think can really affect how I flare up, and in regards to bloating or digestive problems, really I struggle with. So I think I have to be quite strict there with what I'm doing, and my mindset. I have to be quite strict with that. But better, but I'm not on the coil anymore, so my it's sort of back to normal, which I haven't had for what, 5 years. So I think it's just you don't know when it's going to return. That's where I am at the moment. um
yeah,
yeah, because you kind of think after I always think, oh, the last surgery, it took me like, I had like probably about 3 years when I felt okay. But I'm obviously at the age now, 30, so they sort of they do scare you a bit because they tell you about all of the other treatments. And I have been referred to a really good consultant now who's absolutely brilliant. And he he kind of has said, you know, you need to take one step at a time, and instead of just chucking loads of stuff at me and saying this couldn't happen, actually just sort of listening and saying, you know, you could try this or you could do this, is I
yeah.
find it a lot better. So I'm very lucky that I have got that person now, which I didn't have before, which makes it even harder because you don't know who to ask about Douglas. or you know, all of those questions that you have and you can't ask anybody, because but then when you have a doctor that listens and goes, this is this and this is that, I found that so much more helpful. So yeah, I feel lucky now I have that person. Hopefully he doesn't retire because that would be really sad, but he's been lovely, really good.
That's always a bonus, isn't it? When you've got that confidence in your
Yeah.
doctor, you know that you're in good hands. I think that's always a
Yes.
key.
Yeah.
And it's important that people do make sure they do their research into who they're actually being
Yeah.
treated.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I kind of wish I'd known that 8 years ago in some ways, because I think, and I'm sure all of those you know, girls
Yeah,
had wished that, because then you have that, you could have had one doctor in your whole process rather than three or four that have either operated on you, told you different advice, told you that. It's yeah, it's just one of those things. You don't know what's next. You don't know what's going to be next. It might be that I will hopefully be okay and well, or it might be that I've got to have something else sorted or looked at. So yeah, it's a very bizarre, it's a weird one because you don't know what's coming up in the next few years.
No, isn't it? You just like, it's like you're constantly just waiting, like, okay, so I've got a new pain now. Oh, it's there.
Yes, or something different, something new appears. Yeah, I think I went to see a really good nutritionist, and she gave me some advice on different like supplements to take and vitamins and all of that stuff. And I'd wish I'd known about that years ago as well, because I think I would have been able to manage my pain better, a little bit better. I don't know about you, but the first doctor told me to go gluten free. So I did that straight away, which helped. And then when I went back, they was like, oh, maybe try dairy free to help with your pain as well. So I do both of those now, which is fine. But I kind of wish as soon as they diagnose you, they say, you can have this, but I think it is quite a lot to do with your diet as well. So I wish they kind of maybe made that more awareness a little bit more, possibly.
Yeah. Shame they don't really. I mean, in the UK they don't.
No, they don't, do they? But I know Australia, they're quite big on it. And my sister lives in New Zealand, and they've got like a big thing on, on endometriosis and food. And America, I think, obviously are always in front of us with that, aren't they? So it's a shame that there's not more of that.
No, well, the thing is, like they've got things in them that cause inflammatory.
Yeah,
they don't. It really annoys me that, because me and Dr. Larissa Corder have had these conversations where we get so frustrated that it's like with polycystic ovary syndrome, for example. Like there's even scientific evidence everywhere that if you lose 5% body weight, it massively improves your symptoms. Yet they don't give you a dietitian or anything to help you. And I think why it's like with endo, why don't they use more natural ways to deal with it instead of pumping people full of painkillers and things? Because like you said, it does, even the top specialists like Dr. Najat, Dr. Cook, loads of them are saying that diet is really important, yet we don't get told by anybody.
No, like they obviously the first doctor said gluten free to me, so I went out and bought. I mean, it's obviously more expensive, like the gluten free stuff, but I had a discussion with a doctor last time and said, oh, I know obviously celiacs, they have to have such a controlled diet, and obviously they have to have huge controlled diet, but you can get some food that's gluten free, like discounted or whatever like that. And it's a shame that I know we're trying to make awareness and stuff at the moment with endometriosis, but maybe if they looked into that, then more people would follow those, because it's not as it's expensive gluten free, isn't it, and dairy free, we know it. I choose that, but I know that it is expensive. Me and my partner will go shopping, and I'll be like, oh, I've just bought like 3 things, and they've cost as much as the shopping that we should have bought for normal foods. But it's a shame. It's a shame that maybe there isn't something out there that, I'm not saying give it for us for free, but like actually is as a way in for girls to just try it to see if it works, because it definitely worked for me. But it's taken years for me to understand that, I think.
Yeah, it's not easy, is it? It's a difficult one. I find if I eat dairy or gluten, it does make me flare. So I have oatmeal stuff now.
Yeah.
It's getting cheaper in places because Aldi and
Lidl they
do.
Yeah, they do really good selection. Like it's like cereal bars, or like there is so much more gluten free now in the UK as well, isn't there? With like the different shops. So I do. Yeah. Yeah, some of the foods, like, when you just sometimes want a really nice, normal, I'm going to say normal, but what's the difference? Like, even the biscuits don't taste the same as normal biscuits, but that if you have some, you won't, have a big belly that looks like you're heavily pregnant. You can actually enjoy that biscuit and then carry on your day. So
that's the worst with the bloats we get.
Yeah,
they're so cruel, aren't they? Really,
yeah,
it's
horrible.
That it looks like you say, it makes you look pregnant.
Yeah, yeah,
and the fact that it causes problems with that, but yet it's so cruel. It's just cruel, isn't it?
Yeah, and it I think that's sometimes when you're thinking of even sort of how you can treat that, you have, if you do these flare ups or whatever happen, they can happen when I'm actually not even stressed. Like, it will just happen. I think, right, what have I eaten today? Like, that always goes like, what have I had? And even sometimes I am being like following this gluten-free, dairy-free, and something will still happen, but I can never pinpoint. Like, it can just be how it is that day. That's the frustrating thing, I think, about it, isn't it? You just don't know when that's going to happen either.
No, it's so annoying. It's really annoying. If I put, it'll be a second. Where did
We went off topic, so I started talking about gluten-free diets.
Yeah, but it's interesting because it's basically one of your treatments, really. That's one you're using.
Definitely.
And it's important. Well, even, I mean, the Endometriosis Diet book by Dr. Andrew Cook, that gives you a breakdown of how to find your triggers and things like that. So it's good that you've done that, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely.
What's the most difficult thing about having endometriosis? And is there anything you've had to stop doing that you miss doing? If that makes sense.
Yeah. Most difficult. I'd say I probably answered this question earlier. I think it's if you get poorly and you have to listen to your, that sounds awful, but you have to listen to your body. So it might be that you never know when it's gonna appear. Or when for me, it seems to be that I get a cyst and then it triggers the endometriosis. Whereas I know other people have different symptoms, so it can be different every time. I think that's the thing. You can never predict it. You can never sort of predict when it's going to happen. And I think I've got better now because I do talk to more people about it. Whereas for ages, I literally didn't. I used to just keep it to myself. And I actually used to just be like, I'm fine, everything's fine, da, 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 da. And obviously people could tell I wasn't probably as fine because, for example, I was being way more careful with what I ate, with the dietary things. And also sometimes I wasn't going to things, but I was like not saying that I was in pain. I was just saying, I can't make it. So I've got better with that the last 2 years, but that's what I did struggle with at the start. And I'd say maybe frustrating that normally I would want to work a full week. Like, probably I love working. I love what I do. So that's probably not to say that that's been taken away from me, but I obviously did have to think about my health and my work. And I only really did that last year, if I'm honest. So that, not difficult because it's been the best thing for me, but it was difficult at the time to choose that.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Make that decision. When you think I should be able to do that easily, I should be able to do a full week and be, not get poorly, but my body won't unfortunately allow that. So I've had to try and train myself to think that way almost.
Yeah, that is a lot to deal with, to be honest. Yeah. It's just annoying, isn't it? Because like at our age, it's like we're at that age where your job and things like is like the main thing that you want to like focus on, and when that,
definitely.
like, even though you're still working, that extra day is just frustrating because you know that everybody else is there, you can't be there, and that must be really annoying.
That's so it's annoying as the sense that I had to do that, but in a positive way. It, looking on reflection now, I have 4 really full days, and because of my teaching job, I can teach into the evenings, which is great. So I could do a full day and then plug it in the evenings. So it's almost like I'm doing my Friday but in my evenings, but then I get my day free. So it's been better for that. But I had to, for ages, like my partner or my family would be like, you need to look after yourself. And it just took me a while to get to that point to actually listen really and think, okay, I better actually start listening now to what I'm doing. But that's taken a long time to get there. And it's quite frustrating because you're right, like why shouldn't you be able to do what you want to do? But I'm sure one day it will happen, but just at the moment I almost last year had to take a bit of a step back to then work on that again.
Yeah, build yourself back up.
Definitely.
A lot. It is a lot to, like, a big surgery and then Zolodex, and then it's a lot to cope with. So well done, like.
Thank you.
You got to realise sometimes though that even like going to work when you chronically ill is such a difficult thing to do, even though you enjoy it when you get there. It is hard, like, to get that energy to think, oh, I need to get out of bed, and when you feel so bad.
I the energy part, I think with being like teaching dance, I have to be so energetic all the time. So sometimes when I'm really tired, I'm like, come on, Amy, there's something in there, keep going. So yeah, that is, it has been a struggle, but it's obviously when you've recovered from your surgery, you tend to, fingers crossed, hopefully feel a bit better. So for short term it will be okay. It's just obviously after that, hopefully I'll be okay now, but you just don't know, do you? I suppose.
No, that's the thing with it, isn't it? And next question is, why do you think it's important to raise awareness, and what do you want to see change?
Important to raise awareness because I think if I had known about this 8 years ago, I would have been able to go, oh, there's actually other women out there that have it, rather than me trying to deal with what I've got and not sort of speak to other people. Maybe like this, I've really only spoke about it this year, and I kind of wish I'd done this years ago because I think it would have helped me in different ways. So I think that's really important, and also like hospitals to and like gynae areas. I've been very lucky with mine, but that's not to say, like when I told you about that story going in, when you have been discharged, it's very hard to get back into the system again, and you have to go through it all again. And I think that's, if you could raise some sort of, if we can raise some sort of awareness of the symptoms and what it is, then you wouldn't have to go like a year with feeling all of those other problems that you've got. And maybe to say, if you have been diagnosed with it, that should be enough for you to get, to be pushed almost back into the system if you need to. Again, I was lucky that when I did get referred again, luckily that doctor that did my last operation was there, and he was there and he was able to sort of speed things up for me. But if he hadn't been there, I would have been waiting and had to probably have a lot more appointments and stuff. So I think to raise awareness of the symptoms and almost for the GPs to know before you have to be referred, if that makes sense. Like, it must be really hard for them because they see so many different people every day, but a urine infection is different to like endometriosis, and it's a shame it's not identified sooner, I think,
Yeah,
possibly.
yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's if someone's got endometriosis and they've got symptoms of endometriosis in certain areas, then it's that whole multidisciplinary approach problem that they're not all, because it can be on any part of the body, all specialists trained on it. So it doesn't make sense why they're not really.
No.
When there's plus, it's quite worrying actually, isn't it?
Yeah, it's sort of, it obviously takes so much more time because you have to go through certain like protocols. And now probably 6-7 years later, I have somebody that is great, and if I need to ask questions, but that's taken 7 years to be able to have that person there. And I know other girls it must take even longer, which I feel terrible for. But I think if there was more awareness maybe in your your GP, or I don't know, like more centres that just deal with endometriosis, it would be so much better for those women, and myself, that I would have known about them and I could have gone and asked them about it maybe.
That's the problem, isn't it? I don't GPs and things, they don't have like sufficient training on it, and other areas don't have sufficient training, and it's just a lot of gaps, isn't it? That just
definitely
like ever or anything like that.
And if you're not on the system, then it takes even longer for you to potentially get on the system. Like, I never want to come off the system at all now because I'm so petrified. It would take me like a year to get back, do you know what I mean? Like a year to get back onto it. It's almost, I think, I don't know why they do that, because endometriosis will potentially grow back unless you have, I don't know, unless you have it all cleared amazingly, it's still going to be there, I think, possibly from what I've read up. I don't know if don't hold me to that. So I'm like, surely they should put that in place for those people. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's like, unless you've got a really, really good excision.
Yes, that's,
you find every little bit that is there.
Is there anyone like, I always look at things abroad, like in different countries, and there seems to be a lot more people that do it. In the UK, do you know, is there people, that lots of girls that have done this, or girls that are on your page, have they had it with them, and has it worked, do you know?
No, a lot of people have had excision surgery with endo specialists.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know anyone really that's been, even people that have had hysterectomies and stuff, they've still got it because it don't cure it. But it's so sad because, but I know people that have had really good surgery with like people like Dr. Najat, and like the best specialists. I know people have had a lot of relief for a long period of time. Like the recurrence time was a lot longer. But here, the reoccurrence rate, the way that people get it back so quickly, it's a bit worrying actually.
I know, it is worrying, because you also think, you like, they obviously say to you, to the biggest thing, I think, as well, they say to you straight away, you need to have a baby and then the pain will go. And obviously I know that that's something that, seeing your page, like lots of girls have probably said that, and that's I found that really hard. I mean, I was 25. Some people have children then, which is great, but I wanted to focus on teaching and all of that, and part of me still does. So that's quite a hard thing, I think, to have that. Have a baby, or maybe later you need to have a hysterectomy. It's like the choices.
There's like two ends of the...
One's like amazing, like it would be a miracle, and the other one is hysterectomy. Thank you. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know if women have had better symptoms. It's weird because you don't know which pathway that you'll take, will you? I suppose.
No.
you know, until you get there, in that respect. But they did say that to when I had my last one, they did say I feel lucky because I've still got both ovaries and everything like that, which I know other girls do not have. But they obviously say that as well. So you're kind of mixture your head thinking, well, when am I going to be back here in 5 years' time? And it would be a different story. You just don't know, do you, I suppose?
No, it's not always, because there's no way for them to easily look either. You just got to sort of guess what's going on. A pain in my bowel, a pain in my bladder, my bowel's playing up, my bladder's playing up, so it must be there again. Like one of them. Like guess the organ, isn't it?
Yeah, you're kind of guessing yourself for where it is. Yeah, but no, I'd say that's what I'd like to do. I did do a run last year actually for endometriosis. It was quite funny. I did a 10K just around Hastings with my partner, and that was probably the first time I kind of said, right, I want to make awareness now about this. And I think I just had that up, so I was a bit like, I can run again, I'm going to do something to it. And actually it was lovely because I suppose it sort of opened out to people what it is about as well. So that was probably a little hint of it. But I do feel passionately about how we can maybe make awareness of it and help people with symptoms wise. I think with the dietary requirements would be great.
Yeah. Really, that's so important, really, because nobody talks about it really, or people are really against it. And I think, why? But you've not tried it. Until you try it, you don't know.
Yeah.
Tried it, I know it's helped. So
yeah, I know. It's hard because it's like you have to you like disciplined, aren't you? With like, oh, I'm not gonna have that. I'm gonna have a gluten-free pizza, which doesn't taste the same. But it does help. It does help eventually. But yeah, I think definitely, you know, you've done so well with raising awareness. It's absolutely brilliant. But I think in the southeast, it would be, if you know people, I'd like to sort of get in touch with them just to try different things and see if that works. Like I never thought about a tens machine, but somebody said that to me the other day. I was like, I haven't thought of that. If I could put that on while I'm teaching, great. Give it to me.
She's a teacher. She puts it on teaching.
Yeah. It's just brilliant. Like, I think it'd be amazing to have like a manual of like what you could do from different people, almost like a manual for endometriosis. But I think it would be good. It's so good to see what helps other people and what you can learn and sort of gain from that. I think is great.
Yeah, that's
well done to you.
She said, my friend who's a teacher, and she puts it on. When she puts it on, she said the kids all alive.
Yeah,
looking like this. What's that?
Well, I normally, to be fair, I've had hot water bottle a few times, which is a bit harder because when you're dancing, you get like got this. So a tens machine would be even better. I'd love to try that.
Yeah, because you can sort of like without wires as well now.
Yes, yeah, definitely. No, I will. It would be great. It's good to try different things to see if it helps, definitely.
Is there anything else that you think is really important for everyone to be aware of, or is there anything that you want to cover about your own journey that you want to talk about?
Obviously with what I've just said about maybe making it more aware locally as well in the hospitals, which I know is hard because it is hard because there's so many other things going on, especially at the moment with COVID as well. But I would only say that it shouldn't, to anyone, I think, to kind of summarize my sort of journey, is that it has stopped me a few times, but I've always gone, yes, I'm going to still do my job and still exercise when I want to, because that helps me in day-to-day life. And that's hard when you're recovering, I think, isn't it? It's really hard when you're recovering and you've got to go for a 5-minute walk just to get out of the house so you can actually move your hips again. I don't know about you, but my hips took ages to recover from the last one. Like even sleeping on my it was just awful. And now they feel great again. So I'm like, yes, brilliant. It's probably taken a year for them to really heal.
Yeah.
And to sort of make changes. Like I've obviously made a change with my week schedule. So make a change that you can control rather than endometriosis controlling what you do. That's what I would say. Don't let it, it's hard, but don't let it stop you doing things.
Sorry, I'm trying this down.
Oh, that's okay. That's fine. Don't let it. I mean, it's that I'm saying that today because today's a good day, but next week I'll be like. I'm also very lucky. I have a great family, a really brilliant partner. So I think I've been very lucky there. But yeah, don't give up and keep going. That's what I would say. It's hard, but you can do it. Which obviously you've done because I saw your story, mate. Like, I mean, I've had like 2, and I just think your journey and what you've done is brilliant. So more girls out there, girl power, all of that, and we will just keep going. I'm going to do another run this year to raise a bit more money, so I'll let you know how that goes.
Please let us know, and we'll massively support you and stuff, and share.
No, I will. I did one last year. It was only around Hastings, but I raised about £800 for it, which was quite surprising. I want to try and get a bit more this year. Yeah, just to raise awareness. And also I think it helped me sort of open up to other people that this is what I have. So because I think that's something which I found difficult for ages. So I think it's just kind of going, this is something that I've got, but I want to raise awareness and make it more positive rather than it being a negative thing that you have to deal with.
I like that.
Yeah, which is hard sometimes, but again, you're then in control of it. It's not in control of you.
That's the best way to be, I think. Like, I like the way that you fight back here. I think that's an amazing thing. Like, please let us know when you do the run, because we'll drive down.
Definitely. Yeah, I will. I've got to. I mean, it's awareness month this month, isn't it? So I was thinking about doing it, but last year I did it in July, because I signed up for a 10 after my operation. I was like, right, I'm going to sign up for a 10K. Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to do it. And then it got cancelled because of COVID. So I decided to do it around Hastings. But this year, obviously, COVID's still technically here, so I don't know if they will do the races or the 10K. So if they don't, I will definitely do it locally again. And I still wore my little badge thing around Hastings. It was quite funny, and my partner did it with me, which was just the best thing. So yeah, I will let you know when that is, if I make it.
Yeah, if we're not in COVID restrictions, we might be able to all come and watch you and just give you a bit.
That would be brilliant. Or like we could do like a big end. Like I know they did. Was it the march? Did you do the endo march?
Yeah. We run the Leeds one, but I've been to the London one. London one's good, really good. Yeah, Endometriosis UK do a really good job with that. It's just nice because you just meet loads of people and you get chatting to people and everyone eggs each other on. It's just a nice environment.
That's so. I need to. What's the lady you said that's down this way? You said her name. I can't remember. That she does her own.
Carla Creasy.
Okay.
And there's Jodie Hughes. Okay. Claire Breed is one of my friends. She's really good. She's down that way. There's quite a few. Yeah, there's quite a few. What I'll do is I'll send you their Instagram links after this, and then put you in touch with the people, because they are really nice people as well. And it'd be good for you to have a chat with them. And when things calm down with COVID and stuff, even if you wanted to grab a coffee with them and stuff, they're quite easygoing, people.
Nice. That'd be really good. It's good to have a like you've got such a community that you've sort of built and stuff, and I think that's obviously important to raise awareness, isn't there? If there's more people
Mm.
out there, the more we can
If you,
do with raising awareness,
if you,
and not be like me when I didn't have a clue what it was, so I was googling it.
yeah, same.
Were you doing that? I was like, luckily my mum actually, I'm really lucky, works at the Conquest Hospital, so I obviously she knows a bit more stuff, but so she knew what it was, but I didn't have, I was sat there googling things. I didn't know what it was. I think if you do know and they're kind of very direct with you, it would be way more helpful, because you could go, okay, I know what I know what I can kind of expect in the next few years.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's just like, because it's such a word, isn't it, within
Yeah.
itself? Like, really, it sounds really techy, and like,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, it'd be nice
Those words.
just like
Is it adhesions when it adhesions when it sticks together?
that. Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, what are those then? Do I have those? Yep, you've got
yeah.
quite a few of those, Amy. Okay.
Just tell me my bowel is stuck to here. My bladder. Explain it that way, it'd just be a lot easier.
And when they say Zoladex, I think, oh, that sounds quite nice. Like maybe that's a tablet. You don't realise it's these massive injections that then they
Yeah.
go, you need to sit forward so they can, compare. It's just horrible.
Oh, yeah. No, it's not nice, is it?
No, it's not at all. But yeah, it definitely makes you. I think it makes you more open to be like, okay, this is another thing. Let's go. It kind of just, you have to just get on with it, don't you? I suppose.
Nothing makes you squeamish anymore either.
No, not at all. Yeah, no, thanks so much for letting me chat to you, and well done again. You're doing such an amazing work. We just need more of you down here and around this area.
You've been incredible, like the way that to say you've never spoken about it before, you've been really like open, and like the way that you've said things and explained things has been really good. Like, you should be really proud of yourself, because it's not an easy
Thank you.
Yeah,
no, I'm not great at sort of talking about things, so it's good, because it's a step to go. It's sort of kind of out there, I suppose, but
yeah, and you'll be helping many other people as well. That's the thing, like, by opening up your story and like the way that you're talking about it, and just not allowing other people to know that like they're not alone as well, like, so you've massively helped with that, so thank you.
That's all right, thank you very much, and I'll let you know about the run.
Yeah, please do. We'll come down.
Yeah, that would be so lovely. That would be brilliant. Maybe I'll do it for July, because Boris has said hopefully June. So
yeah,
fingers crossed. Everyone crossed. But no, thank you so much. What I'll do is I'll just do you want me to stop the how am I doing it? There we go. Let me